It's feeding off our suffering and it doesn't stop.
We're losing. We're running out of time and we still don't know the goddamn rules. There is no way to fight back against those things.
This scene wasn't a conversation. It was a threat. The scene between Elgin and Boyd felt necessary, but it also revealed a lot about both of them. Boyd makes it clear that if the truth about what they did gets out, it could tear the entire town apart. So they agree on a cover story. Well, Elgin was forced to agree. If anyone asks about Elgin's eye, he'll say that he was trying to help Fatima. But then Elgin pushes back. He tells Boyd and asks, what if I don't? Because that's not what really happened. That's when Boyd crosses a line. He said that he'll tell everyone that he killed Tilly, which we know isn't true, and then throw Elgin in the box. That moment says everything. Boyd isn't just protecting the town, he's controlling the narrative. As soon as Elgin hears that, he responds by saying the truth will come out eventually. And honestly, he has a point. Throughout the season 1 through 3, we've seen that secrets never stay hidden in this town. People are already losing faith in Boyd, and just like Donna said, people are giving up. They're giving up on hope, but they also giving up on Boyd. They are tired and they're frustrated. So if the truth about Elgin comes out, and I think it will, there are only a couple of ways this plays out. Either the townspeople find out and Sarah finally faces the consequences and ends up in the box like she was supposed to back in season 1, or Elgin may tell Julie what happened because remember, they have a close friendship. In the next scene, Boyd sees a bag hanging from the motel sign. At first, Tabitha thinks it might be Jim, but it turns out to be an animal. Then we cut to Julie and Ethan heading toward the barn. Ethan says we're going to find him, right? And Julie reassures him that they will. That moment becomes a piece of tragic irony because later they do find their father in the barn. Do y'all remember in season 1 episode 9 when Tabitha has that dream in the basement and she starts walking up the stairs? Everything suddenly shifts. The steps turn into the lighthouse stairs. Then she hears the horns, looks up and sees Jim hanging upside down. The exact same way the kids later find him. Now you can say, well, that came from him hanging from the RV. But I just think it is ironic the way the man in yellow or the monsters place him. It makes me wonder, could these nightmares actually be warnings of what's going to happen before it even happens? Then we see the phrase, knowledge comes at a cost. And when you think about it, that idea keeps repeating. According to Sarah, Nathan had dreams about this place, just like Elgin and Miranda. That alone suggests he may have understood more than anyone realized, possibly even before arriving in the town. That line isn't just a warning, it is a rule of how the town works. The more the characters try to uncover the truth, the more the town reacts. When Jade and Tabitha start discovering things, Jim dies. When Boyd keeps pushing for control and answers, everything begins to fall apart. When people dig too deep, they get punished, misled, or broken. It's almost like the town is defending itself. Not physically at first, but psychologically. It creates fear, confusion, and consequences to stop people from getting too close to the truth. Nathan may have realized this early on. His dreams weren't just random, they were warnings. And instead of chasing answers like Jade or Boyd, Nathan seemed to understood that knowing too much comes with a cost, which ties directly back to the phrase, knowledge comes at a cost. So when Boyd repeats that warning, it's not just him talking, it's the show reinforcing a pattern. Every time someone gets closer to the truth, something pushes back harder. Then the camera pans to the timeline Jay created on the wall. It starts as far as back at the 1700s with the stones, possibly similar to something like the Stonehenge. Historically, that time period marked a shift from building momentum to focusing on ritual and sacrifice. It actually reminds me of the show called Children of the Stones, a British folk horror series about a town built around ancient stone circles, where a time loop keeps repeating. I'm not saying it's the exact same as From, but there are definitely similarities, especially when it comes to cycles and resets. Moving into the 1800s, there are a lot of history tied to expansion, settlements, and major conflicts like Civil War, which we knew in season 1. It was a time defined by movement, survival, and rebuilding, and that could explain how different groups of people ended up connecting to the town. Then you have the 1900s, which seems to connect to the colony house based on its design and interior style. And after that, the 1950s era shows up clearly with the diner, motel, and clinic. One interesting detail is that Jay didn't include the church on his timeline, maybe because it doesn't belong to any specific time period, or maybe because its role is something deeper. I don't think he knew what year that church was built, so that's probably the reason why he left it off the timeline. The red stones mentioned could act as protective wards, barriers meant to keep negative energy or entities contained, just like the talisman, and we know Tabitha saw those stones in her dreams as a child, which again reinforced the idea that dreams in the show are not random. They mean something. I also think the bottle tree appeared when Miranda arrived, connecting to the dreams she was having, and personally, I still believe Eloise might be alive. The 2-car crash feels too important to be random, and it may have been destined to bring Tabitha and Jade together. When Boyd tells Jade to work harder, it mirrors what Donna told Boyd back in season 3. That pressure is being passed down. In this scene, I think what we are witnessing right now is the start of a cycle. Now, I know we kept saying this since day one, that Ethan is just like Victor or going to be like Victor. I think that we finally see the parallels between Victor and Ethan because we've already seen how Victor lost his mother, Miranda. Now we're seeing Ethan face the same kind of loss with his father, Jim. Both moments in this episode was absolutely heartbreaking, especially with Ethan, because when Ethan started throwing stuff in the house and blaming Tabitha, saying, "What did you do?" and she said that she didn't do nothing, and she couldn't even tell them what transpired. It's like, Tabitha, come on, like, why you're not talking to your kids and explaining to your kids what happened? But as always, she's either lying, or she don't want to talk about it, or she keeps saying no, I don't know how many damn times. And like I said before, I just don't want these writers to keep having Tabitha saying these things. She need to speak up. She need to start having a conversation with her kids about what transpired between her, Jim, and goddamn Jade. So I'm just keeping my fingers crossed and hoping that she says something to her kids about what happened. The scene between Tabitha and Jade is also worth talking about. Now, Jade don't know how to read the damn room. When Jade came in that barn and wanted to have the conversation about what happened, and you can see Tabitha was very emotional. She was very angry because she just lost her husband, and I completely understand. And I get that his intentions was to focus on finding answers, but it was not the right time. Then we get the scene with Sarah and Sophia, where Sophia says that when people die, parts of them are still here, parts that aren't forgotten. That line hints that no one truly disappears in this town. Something of them lingers, whether it's memories, energy, or something more supernatural. For example, the ballerina figure connects back to the music box from season 2. Suggesting that these lingering presence can take on physical or symbolic forms. That seems to be the case since Boyd was the only one who seen that physical form at the time. But what if the ballerina figure originally belonged to someone in the town? I think it's ironic that it appeared right when Sophia arrived. Then we see Julie tells Randall that she's going to save Jim. She story walks back to the moment from season 3. And once again, she tries to change what happened, but this time something different happens. The monster grabs her. The moment is huge. It shows that the monsters are more capable than we thought. They're not slow because they have to be. They're slow because they want to be. They're creating fear. And if I can recall, I think Smiley was chasing after Miranda in season 3 as well. The biggest reveal comes when Jim speaks to Ethan about the Lake of Tears. He tells Ethan that it's real and that he needs to find it. That connects directly to Tabitha's earlier scene where she was grieving and speaking to Jim. It feels less like coincidence, more like a narrative setup, in my opinion, pointing toward the Lake of Tears becoming central to the story. While some people compare it to the Deltor quest, I think it's closer to something like the Lamentation of Thrina, deep below the surface of the material plane dominating the eastern half of the middle Underdark is a lake known as the Lake of Tears. Its dark, gloomy waters have always been treated with fear and suspicious, even by creatures native to the Underdark. And the reason for this, aside from the creatures that are said to dwell within its waters, is that the waters are said to be the cursed tears of the goddess named Thrina. If that's true, then the Lake of Tears could already exist beneath the town. And if Eloise witnessed everything and if she saw her mother die that night, then maybe she's connected to that curse in ways we don't fully understand yet. What if she's the goddess of the Lake of Tears? Now that would be interesting. I also found out when I did my research about the Lake of Tears, it could be a biblical form. What I researched there is a book of Lamentations. Lamentations is a unique book in the Old Testament. It contains 5 poems from an anonymous author who survived and is reflecting back on Babylon's siege of Jerusalem and the destruction and exile that followed. Now that is a little bit interesting because I feel like the entire story, I would say 75%, maybe 80% is based on biblical. Now, Ethan is being set up for his own journey. Every character has had a role to play, and this might finally be his. Because in the show, dreams matter, as I said before. When dreams or nightmares come true, they're often called precognitive dreams or prophetic dreams. We've already seen the pattern in the show. Miranda dreamed about the town, Elgin dreamed about the boy in white, Ethan dreams about the Lake of Tears. Dreams and from are not just dreams, they are part of the system, part of the cycle, and if Ethan's dream is leading him to the Lake of Tears, then whatever is waiting down there might finally reveal the truth behind everything. And that's everything that I got for this episode. Let me know your theories down in the comments. I really want to hear what you think about this episode. I appreciate every single one of you for liking and subscribing. It really means a lot. And if you want to support the channel even more, make sure you check out the membership and become an innkeeper. I see you in the next one.